Welcome to Stories Worth Hearing. I'm your host, John Quick. Here we go beyond the surface level success to explore the real stories behind people's lives, the experiences, relationships, and mindset shifts that make their journeys meaningful. Today's guest is Grant Cardone, a best-selling author, speaker, and founder of Cardone Capital, with a real estate portfolio surpassing $5 billion in assets under management. He also starred in the hit TV show Undercover Billionaire, where he had to build $1 million business from scratch in 90 days. No fame, no startup capital, no pre-built brand, but he still made it happen. And behind all that, he created 10X Growth Conference, which grew into one of the world's largest entrepreneur gatherings, accumulating in a blockbuster event in Vegas in March 2025 in its 10th and final edition. But this conversation isn't just about fame or the spectacle of making a lot of money. It's about the story behind the headline. Today we dig into Grant's childhood, his family, his early wins, what really shaped his mindset, and what's next on the horizon. Let's dive in. Well, welcome to the show, Grant. Super excited you're joining us today. It'll be fun to hear a little bit about your story. And, I'm sure our audience will be excited to kind of get a behind the scenes peek of Grant Cardone. But first, I have a question for you. So I was watching your show, Undercover Billionaire, and you made a comment, I think, that maybe was the most intriguing comment of the whole show. And you said that before your dad passed, he told your mom to go learn about sales. Tell me about how that shaped your life.
Yeah. So, my dad died when I was 10 years old. And, I don't have a lot of memories of him, except I remember him getting up every morning, putting on his suit, getting his briefcase, going to the office, coming back at night tired. And, he was a sales guy. I remember him always shaking people's hands, always stopping to say hello to people. And he had tremendous work ethic. Those are basically the things I remember. And he also said, hey, protect your name. Like, you got to protect your name, no matter what, defend your name and don't do anything to damage it. Well, years after my dad had died, I had gone to college. This is, I guess, 12 years later. And my mom said to me, I was getting an accounting degree and I got out of college and I couldn't get an accounting job because nobody was hiring accountants in this refinery town. And I got a sales job and I hated sales. And my mom came to me and said, your dad told me to tell you that, that a good salesman can go anywhere and do anything in any economy, and they'll always be needed.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think if folks have kind of, watched your social media and stuff like that, family does seem very important to you. Tell me maybe one thing that fatherhood has taught you that business maybe never could.
Oh my God, dude. Like the thing I'm most proud of in my life, like literally anytime anybody asks me about my girls, it brings tears to my eyes. And the reason it does is because I'm just so blessed to have the interest in being a father. I'm interested in being a dad. And my kids now are 13 and 16, so they're starting to move through those a little more challenging times that people talk about. But I'm always interested in being a dad, dude. Like I'm a great dad. Like, one of the things I do best in my life is I'm a great dad. And I don't know whether it's because the mom did such a good job. Elena did a great job with the kids. She did natural home birth, no drugs. I'm convinced that has a lot to do with my kids being sane. We never vaccinated the kids. Not to make this too political, but and then the third thing is we homeschooled them.
Yeah.
And I think my kids are I'm a super dad, bro. Like, I'm a great dad because I have great kids, or they're great kids because I'm a great dad. Nobody quite knows what, but I'm interested. I always take time to play with them and talk to them and listen to them and take phone calls from them. So no matter how.
There'll be a lot of entrepreneurs that are watching this that probably have miserable work-life balances. They maybe see their kids a couple times a month or whatever it is. What's some advice you'd give them? Because I think sometimes folks don't know where to start. Maybe they feel like, I just got to keep grinding away and then eventually I'll go build a relationship with my kids. What's some advice you'd give to folks grinding away, but it's really important to keep that family?
Yeah, I'm careful to ever give parental advice because you can really trigger people. But, I think about Donald Trump. I think about Donald. Even if you hate Donald, you gotta admire that his kids turned out pretty good. And he had his kids in offices when he was doing. He even bragged about, I don't change diapers, I don't do all that, but they're in the office. So our kids have been homeschooled and They have been on payroll since they were 6 years old. They are required by contract to do certain things. Part of that is sit in the office with me, go on trips with me, do presentations with me, to take notes while they're in meetings. We're probably going to go public next year, and we had 5 meetings with the big banks in New York, and my 13-year-old had to sit in those meetings and take notes.
Nice.
And I've been to real estate meetings. I was at a Warren Buffett meeting 3-4 years ago up in Boise, where his office is. And I brought my, at that time, 10-year-old, and the other real estate guys were like, dude, why didn't I bring my daughters to this meeting? I'm like, I don't know why you didn't bring them. It's better than them being in school. So to answer your story, I think quantity is very, very important. I know people talk about quality of time, not quantity. I don't think it's real that you're just going to spend quality time with people without giving them quantity. Kids need quantities, and they'll be done with you before they have no interest in long. It doesn't have to be 5 hours, but it needs to be repetitive, consistent. And the trick for us was homeschooling, man. If you homeschool your kids, you're forced to deal with them, as opposed to sending them off to some strangers.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the American dream still exists today? And why? Under Joe Biden, it was pretty doom and gloom. We luckily got Trump back in there. Do you think there's opportunity still for folks to, just like you did, start from the ground with nothing and, become a multimillionaire?
Yeah, 100%. I absolutely believe I think it's changed. I think how you get there is going to be radically different than how your parents got there. And I think it's going to be faster. It won't take as long. If you try to do it the way your parents did it, you're not going to do it. Saving money, equity in a home, the house is the American dream, you got to go to college, you need a retirement account. None of that is on the table. All that is over antiquated. Starting with the house, buying a house is ridiculous. It's not an investment. It is a terrible, terrible decision for most people. This could be your headline, by the way. It'll get so much traction, bro. Buying a house is a prison sentence of 30 years. A mortgage is rent by another name. I would rent for $2,500 a month before I would own for $2,500, and I'd be proud that I never had equity in a home. It's trapped. $12 trillion trapped in equity in a home right now that has not created any American dream for anyone. So yeah, I absolutely believe the American dream is real. I proved that, by the way. During COVID, I went and did this 90-day suicide mission. I got dropped off. For your audience that doesn't know it, I got dropped off in Pueblo, Colorado with $100, and the goal was to build a $1 million business. I didn't hit the million. I hit 5.5 million, and I didn't need the whole 90 days, and I didn't use my name, and I didn't use a credit card, and I didn't use the $100, and I didn't use my social media. So I know for sure the American dream is still alive and well, even during COVID, if you actually know the right strategies. 1, what to do, and number 2, what not to do.
Yeah, I think that show is fascinating. I've seen both seasons, and it's a nice peek under the hood of some tactics that successful people have used. I'm curious, you had that, I think on the first episode of that show, that the guy that owned the RV shop. I mean, he talked about a good Samaritan, and then it seemed like you actually made really good friends with Matt. Tell me a little bit about that experience, and do you keep up with any of those folks and what that's like?
Yeah, so behind the scenes, the first 5 days, I was so productive in the first 5 days. The executives at Discovery called me and said, we don't have a TV show, bro, if you keep doing this. And I said, what do you mean? They said, look, you're going too fast, man. It looks too easy. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm crying. On a daily basis, you guys have me on camera crying like a little baby, and I'm living in an RV. It's 16 degrees. My neck hurts, my back hurts. And they said, what are you talking about? They said, you have an RV. Within 5 days, I had a $40,000 to sleep in. I had a $40,000 car to drive around. I replaced it with the old beater they gave me. And I had food and water, which I didn't have any when I got to town. And I hadn't spent any money. They said, look, you have a damn bill. You literally have a, what's it called when you get a tab?
You had a tab at the restaurant.
I had a tab at the restaurant, an RV, a brand new car. And I'm like, but bro, this is happening. I told Nancy Daniels at Discovery, I said, but it's happening. Why don't you just let it happen so America learns that they don't actually have to suffer in order to get life right? And all I did there, by the way, the little hack there was I spent all my time with people that were in business. So I went to the RV park because I knew I'd looked online for businesses that were for sale. And the reason, and Discovery did a terrible job at really telling this story. The reason I looked at that, why would I go look at businesses that are for sale? Because it introduced me to businesses and business owners. And if you're gonna hook up with anybody in a community, you want to hook up with somebody that already is in business.
Yeah.
You don't want to hook up with a bunch of people learning how to start a business. So I went to the RV park. Bro, I didn't know I was going to get a bed there. I thought I was going to buy his company. And it just so happened when I got there, when you get around quality people have things to give you. And when I got there, I'm like, shit, maybe I could sleep here tonight. But I really went there just to make an introduction to myself. I'm in town. My name's Louis Curtis. Yeah, Louis Curtis. And I don't have any money. I left my family. I'm trying to figure my story out. And I said, literally, I have no place to sleep tonight, but I'm coming to town to figure it out. If I got to sleep in my car tonight, I will. And he's like, bro, you don't need to sleep in your car. Sleep in one of my RVs. And boom, that's how the whole thing started. And then they introduced me to Matt.
Yeah.
Matt's a better, more connected businessman than he was. And I was off to the races, dude, because if you spend time with quality people, you're going to end up accelerating your ability to become a quality person.
It seems like the show's been good for Matt too. He's like all over the place, killing it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I talk to them 2 or 3 times a year. You know, they're great people, man. It was great connections. I would never do it again, ever. And if any of you can get a copy, there's some bootleg copies on the internet of just the 90 days I did it, and they took out the other 2 girls and chopped it up. Yeah. And you can see behind the scenes of what I'm doing. That's super cool if you can get that footage.
Well, it's interesting that all 3 stories are so different. I think you had by far the most success. One of the contestants was able to sell, I think, 6 juice shots. You know, compared to what you did, you killed it. So it was a lot. It was a fun show to watch.
Yeah, those other 2, those aren't businesses anymore. They're, you know, and I can tell you for sure, mine was not produced. I cannot tell you about the other. That's true about the other 2 because they came to me. I know these companies produce shows. These reality shows are produced, meaning they're not reality.
Yeah. They
came to me. Discovery Channel came to me on day 26 or 27 and said, we have Eric. We want you to meet Eric. And I'm like, I don't know Eric. And they said, yeah, but we have this person. He'll be great TV. I said, bro, this is a reality TV show. Okay. This is not you produce the show and I go meet people. Okay. You guys, there was 19 people in production. I said, I could put all 19 of you together and you would never make $1 million in a year, much less than 90 days. So please stay out of my way. If you want to go interview Eric, take your little camera over there and go interview him. I have no interest in Eric.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're like, you're so tough. And I'm like, I only want to talk to business people. I'm here on a mission. The goal was $1 million, and I was going for 10 million. So I didn't have.
And if you, I think you said in there, if you didn't hit the $1 million, you'd donate $1 million or something like that.
I offered to give them $1 million in cash if I didn't hit the $1 million.
Yeah, nobody. They probably hadn't. Those producers probably hadn't seen somebody like you in a long time.
Dude, it was the worst part of that whole deal was being away from my wife and kids, and the second worst part was dealing with the executives.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
So
it'd be like dealing with Newsmax every day.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't do that for a living. I just do it as my creative outlet.
Yeah.
So I want to be mindful of your time. I really appreciate you joining us today.
We're good. You got me on my lunch break, so I'm actually
cool.
I got some time. Yeah.
Nice. So you've shared the stage with the who's who of celebrities and business people, Tom Brady, the list goes on. What's one of your favorite moments that you can remember on the stage? Maybe it's at one of your 10X conferences or a different conference. Kind of share with us one of your favorite moments.
Yeah, so man, I have so many. Anytime anybody asks me about them, it just rekindles a whole bunch of great experiences. I mean, the experience I had with Tom Brady was there was 12,000 people there, and it was like there was only 2 people, me and Tom. And we were so locked into each other, bro. Like I literally thought we were going to start like it was such a lock-in of 2 intense animals. And he was completely engaged with me. I was engaged with him. I was trying to get down to like, what is it driving you, the individual, And that was super. It probably means nothing to anyone else, but it meant a lot to me. I did an interview with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was cool that he was so envious of all my Hummers. And look, there's other people like there's been guys up there that are worth 10 and 12 billion dollars. I remember a guy that sat on my stage sweating, terrified, shaking like a leaf, bro, and he's worth 12 billion. So, it just reminded me of how you can get people out of their environment. I've had super mega Broadway stars like that have been in front of everyone and anyone that were nervous. And I'm sitting there, I'm not nervous at all, and they're sitting there nervous, right? So it just there was so many great behind the scene experiences. I remember I had Usher on stage. I said, Usher, how many stages have you been on? He's like, I don't know, 5,000. I said, the chances of you remembering me a year from now are like zero. And he didn't know me. We paid him. He came on stage. I did the interview. He's probably resenting even being in the interview. He's like, how did I get talked into this? They get talked into it because of money. Well, a year and a half later, I saw him at a Dave Chappelle concert. And this shows you the value of doing a good interview. The interviewer should be interested in the subject they're interviewing, not the audience. And I've always been interested in making it memorable for the person I'm interviewing. Now, keep in mind, this is a guy that's been on 5,000 stages, has had millions of women throw their panties at him. He's probably slept with many of them. He can't count. A year and a half after I did that interview, I was at a Dave Chappelle concert behind stages talking to Chappelle. And David Hart runs up, dragging this woman behind him and says, Grant Cardone, Grant Cardone. He was in his little red vest. Grant Cardone, meet my mother. And he remembered that interview, dude. Because I think the interview was good for him, but then he went and researched me after the fact and saw the stuff that I'm doing with communities and kids, and then he became interested in me. And so, I could go on and on about the people I've interviewed. President Trump, I interviewed him, bro. That is the most difficult interview a person will ever do.
Yeah, he fills up a room quick, I bet.
Bro, the guy is it feels like this giant python, like massive individual that you're trying to manage and you're trying to kind of move the conversation with. So that was a cool moment in my life.
So you've kind of, I've watched you over social media over the years. You kind of talk every once in a while about politics. Do you think that matters in people's life? Should people be interested in who their elected officials are? Who's their governor, who's their city council people, and why should they be interested?
Yeah, I think my mom, when I grew up, it was like, don't talk about politics, don't talk about money, and don't talk about religion. All three of them are very important to me, and I talk about all three of them. Okay, my religion's vitally, vitally important to me. I think religion's important to mankind. Where civilization doesn't have religion, they tend to destroy themselves. Money, if you don't have money on this planet in the 21st century, if you don't have money, you're shit out of luck all the time. And politics, if you don't, you need to talk about politics. Everybody needs to start talking about politics, because the politicians, if you don't talk about it, they're going to keep getting away with the bullshit they've been getting away with, particularly here in America. I mean, they've destroyed our food supply. They've given the right to these big pharma companies to basically vaccinate us until we're sick. Blood pressure medicines, the statins that are being overprescribed, the bullshit that we're on. They put you on it and then they tell you, oh God, I got to add another thing to get on another thing to get on another thing. By the way, you can't get off of them. Don't ever try to get off of them, because if you do, you're going to withdraw. Like, it's such a racket. And that's politics. Taxes are politics. Regulations are politics. Your freedom is based on what your politicians are signing off on.
Yeah, I think our founding fathers would probably be a little upset by how big our government has grown.
But bro, we used to fight over a 1% tax increase on tea.
Yeah.
Now the entire country takes it in the ass like they're at a Diddy party when they raise taxes. They raise taxes. Some of you guys are paying 53% where you live at, and then you're paying purchase taxes, estate taxes, auto taxes, gas taxes, excise taxes, gift taxes. Like, none of this money's yours anymore. And then they print money at will. So again, if people just keep putting their head in the sand and say, I'm not going to talk about it, they're going to keep doing it.
So what's next in store for you? You've conquered a lot. I think, maybe off here, but I think you've got $5 billion in real estate. You have some of the most successful entrepreneur conferences out there. You've done it. Some people could say you could go sit on a beach and sip Mai Tais the rest of your life and be a happy camper, but my guess is you probably will never retire. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so the Mai Tai thing's not an alternative. I live on the beach, and I've always lived on beaches. I love being on the water. So me going out and sitting on the beach, I mean, that's what you do when you visit a beach. If you live on one, you look at it, right? So yeah, I have no interest in retiring, dude. I wouldn't know what to do. I need to work. I have to work. Work is interesting to me, and I have fun working, and I like the challenges, and I like not knowing if I'm going to win or not. We're going to probably go public. I mean, we're going to go public here probably the first end of the front of next year with a company, if not sooner. So we'll take our Cardone Capital real estate investment company public.
Nice.
We're combining that with Bitcoin. We're creating a product that's not out there in the marketplace. I think that's going to be massive. We got about $5 billion worth of real estate. We're going to combine it with a couple $1 billion worth of Bitcoin and continue to buy real estate and Bitcoin and two best in class assets. We're not going to do the big events that we used to do. We're going to get rid of those and probably replace them in the future with investor events like the Berkshire model. Nice. We have a next health company that maybe we also do the same thing with. It's a phenomenally successful company. It's only 4 years old that we bought from a guy. And then when I'll continue to help people, like I love helping people. I don't care. Like I love doing this interview today, possibly reaching somebody and somebody hears something that they either disagree with or agree with. Because if you disagree with something, that's actually good too, right? Yeah. Because if you're like, no, Grant's wrong about the house. A house is a good investment. Well, go buy one. Or go buy 100 of them. If you're really convinced, go buy 100. You'll be happier owning 100 than you will be owning one of them. By the way, that's the only way to make money out of a house is to own 100 of them. And then other people that I can somehow, my legacy could somehow extend because I help one person get off of drugs or embrace their religion or become a good parent or maybe homeschool their kids or make a good investment, then I feel like I've made some kind of contribution.
Nice. So let's say you're 90 years old, your daughters are, at your birthday party, giving you a toast. What do you think? What would you hope they would tell about your story?
Wow. What would I hope? I don't know, man. That I was a good dad, that I hung in there. I was a good dad, a good friend, always told them the truth. Hopefully somebody will comment that I was funny because I think, I think comedy is really, really important. And some of the most intelligent people I've ever met in my life are comedians. They're just witty. They're smart. They see things other people can't see. I just hope that people remember that I helped a lot of people, dude. Like, I somehow know how to turn people on and off.
Yeah.
About half my audience hates my guts, and the other half
and they still watch every one of your videos, probably.
Oh, without the haters, I would not be where I'm at today. Like there's no success without haters. So yeah, I hope there's more than just my kids when I'm done though. I hope there's more. I hope I help more people than just my kids and my wife. That's why I'm not going to go do the Mai Tai thing because it's just selfish. Me playing golf every day is selfish. Me making money just for me, it's just kind of selfish. So it's like I'm taking delivery of a new plane in 2 or 3 weeks. I would like to show other people how they can do that. It's a super cool thing to do, and it shouldn't be limited to just rich people and Coca-Cola or Google or Facebook. Anybody can do any of this stuff. And if I could end up being a good example to inspire other people, like if there was a T-shirt, if Grant could, I can. That would be the T-shirt when I die. If Grant could do it and did it, I can do it and will.
Yeah. So let's say somebody's 19 years old. They got, $10,000. They have no idea what to do. What should they do? They got all the time in the world. They got $10,000. They got nobody interested in teaching them what to do. What are some of the things they could do to make money?
Well, if I had my last 10,000, I would get rid of it. I would do exactly what I did on Undercover Billionaire. I would get rid of it. I would go to zero as fast as you can. Look, when you don't know where you're going, the first thing to do is understand you got to get going. And the guy that's got 10,000 thinks that that's going to help him. You're already broke. By the way, if you had 100 grand, I'd tell you the same thing. Get rid of the 100 grand and go to zero. The most powerful place in the world is zero. It is infinite. You can't measure it. It has tremendous creativity. And, everything's up from there. So I would tell you, don't I would take the 10 grand and I'd blow it on me. I wouldn't blow it on a watch or a pair of shoes, or I wouldn't give it away. I would invest it in myself to become a newer $100,000 version of myself.
Yeah.
And if I had 100 grand, I'd probably reinvest the 100 grand into me or a business or connections. I'd reinvest that to become $1 million version of myself. And I'd just keep doing that until you get great at something. So to the 19-year-old, you have to get great at something. It doesn't matter if you like it. If you get great at something you don't like, at least you'll be great at something. And if you're great at something, people will pay you. And if you're good at something, they might pay you a little something, but it ain't going to be good. It's not going to be more than good. So if you want to be paid exceptional, but you have to become exceptional. And the only way to do that is to reinvest in yourself.
Nice. I love it. Well, any parting words here? One of the things I always ask folks is if they're hopeful for the future or if they're not, and why. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, to the people that want excuses, it's going to be terrible for you. Okay. The future is going to be terrible for anybody that needs excuses. For the communities out there that have blamed others for your problems, all that shit's off the table. AI is going to make your world miserable because your excuses will be gone. Everyone will be able to be a genius. Everyone will have information at their fingertips in microseconds. Everyone will pay the same price, zero. Everyone will have access to the same data that everyone else has. You won't need to go to schools. You won't need to be born in some special neighborhood. It won't matter whether you're white, brown, male, female. It doesn't matter, bro. Everybody's going to have the same data, and it's going to be free. So now that being said, it's going to become extremely competitive, but the payoffs are going to be monster. So it's still going to come down to who's in beast mode, who's hungry, who won't let go. Like, these things cannot be replaced by AI. Persistence, tenacity, the ability to get inspired even when you're not, that kind of stuff, those kind of characteristics, to convert anger into something positive and constructive, to turn haters or losses or depression into something positive. Those things are going to become irreplaceable, valuable commodities in human beings.
That's it for today's episode of Stories Worth Hearing. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Grant Cardone, a look behind the numbers, the books, the brand, to better understand the man, the mindset, and the mission. If something he said challenged you or inspired you, share this episode with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another story that matters. Thanks for listening. I'm John Quick, and I'll see you next time on Stories Worth Hearing.